Alrighty, everyone. We are starting day 2 of the Realign with the Divine Challenge. And today we have Jen Haddix with us. Jen, do you want to do a quick little intro? Who you are, what you do?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Jen, and Kristen and I have been following each other for a long time on socials and kind of inspiring each other. I'm also a yoga teacher, 200-hour Hatha certified. I'm a certified sound healer, and then I am just now leaning into being a spiritual business coach and mentor. So that's what I do.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here with us on our challenge. And McKinsey and I are asking all of our hosts or our guests, as the first question, like, what do you do? What are your practices or whatever in your life that help you feel most aligned with the divine?
For me, it's unplugging. That's actually, I feel like that's one, and I know that sounds really simple, but I actually have, I like to heal my relationship with technology because I spend so much time online working. Like I don't like TV. I spend a lot of time away from my phone. I like to be away from things that pull me away from myself because I actually really struggle to be with myself. So I know that the ways for me to align with the divine are stillness and listening. I like to ground a lot. So in the morning I'll go outside and put my feet in the grass and just stand there like a weirdo in front of my apartment. And obviously yoga, but sometimes it kind of feels like a little bit of a bypass because when I'm working out and moving, I kind of feel a little bit more aligned with whatever is moving me, but I do struggle with stillness. So for me, a lot of it is like listening. And then I guess in terms of the sacral chakra, which I wrote down some notes, I've got them on the side just in case I forget to say anything, but I do feel like connecting to my creative authenticity is one of my ways to connect to the divine. And that's one of the things that I really like to work on with my clients is finding what your divine purpose is so that you can actually put it out into the world and help heal the world. I actually think that's how we will heal the crazy shit that's going on, is not doing what we're told to do, but rather doing what we actually feel we came to do. And so I spend a lot of my time contemplating that. Like that's like a lot of like philosophizing. That's something I do to kind of connect, and I'm still figuring it out. So I'm on this journey just as much as anybody else, and I do not have all the answers.
I feel like that's so the Aquarius in you, like
It
the philosopher.
literally, I don't feel like I spend very much time on Earth. Like I'm always off thinking about all kinds of random things, and people have to ground me back down. So that's absolutely the Aquarius in me.
Well, I love that for you. And I feel like we can all three of us, can all really resonate with what you shared with just kind of struggling to show up online, but wanting to like live in our authentic purpose, which kind of like needs to lean on social media and these other things in order to like actually do what we're doing. So I really love what you shared about unplugging and being really intentional with your screen time, because I know that's something like I struggle with. Sometimes I just want to like watch baking shows on the TV, but then I think about it and I'm like, what else could I be doing with this time? Like I could be like connecting with my partner, taking my dog for a walk, like anything else.
Well, and also as a side note, not to get too weird about it, but I have this big thought about screens kind of hijacking our attention and our energy. So even if it's not necessarily what else could you be doing with that time? You could be doing nothing with that time and you might be getting downloads because you're quiet, but because your attention is on something that's kind of mindless and, in my opinion, a little soul sucking. I think that and that's again, it's personal opinion. I know not a lot of people share that with me, but I do like to think about, if I am going to be using, because they're good and they're bad, right? Like technology offers a lot of, we can do this. This is amazing. We can connect with people from anywhere in the world, and that's amazing. But there are things that I just think that it kind of takes away from. So it's more like, and especially with the sacral chakra, because there's a lot of vulnerability and energy in that space. And so I just am always trying to be on the lookout for what is hijacking my attention and my energy and my vibration.
I was just gonna say that. I feel like a lot of shows that we watch like intentionally hijack our emotions and like put us in this really hyper aware state where we're just like dumping cortisol all the time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's so true that it really is like, I think I share this opinion with you so hard that I just find it to be certain things, especially to be very soul sucking,
Mhm.
like
Right.
intentionally soul sucking.
Yes. It's a tool.
Uh-huh. And I think it also kind of is like an escape, like where like you don't really want to feel your own emotions. So you just like watch something else and it's like kind of giving you that experience, but you don't get the like transformation that you get from actually working through like your own emotions, like your own trauma.
That. And I think that's actually a really beautiful segue because my thoughts about the sacral chakra and like the connection to it is a very vulnerable chakra. And you really do a lot of the processing work and a lot of the alignment has to do with feeling your shit. And when we're checking out, you don't get an opportunity to do that. And we all do it. Like I still find myself wanting, like, I'll turn on the, like, I actually don't have a TV, but I'll like try to watch a movie on my laptop because I just so desperately want to check out. And I can't really do it anymore, but it doesn't have the same effect that it used to. But I still find myself wanting to check out and not feel my feelings because they suck kind of sometimes. I don't want to feel them all the time.
No.
Mm-mm.
What are some ways other than just being still as you kind of started this journey of unplugging and starting to be more intentional with your time? Like, what are some ways that you kind of just moved away from even wanting to watch TV? Was it just like immediate, or did you like have a strategy? Did you have like certain things that you put in place?
Books, I read a lot. That kind of like, which in its own way is a checkout as well. Which I don't know why this turned into a TV thing. I'm not trying to talk about like
I
TV.
totally
I
agree, but I feel
don't
like
know
this
why
is
it happened.
something that just happened.
But yeah, like I think that as an Aquarius, I don't usually have a plan in place. I just do things and see what happens. I just kind of like go. So it just kind of happened. And but I have found over the journey that the more intentional I am with my time and my energy, the easier it has been for me to find alignment within myself and alignment within the chakras and connect to my own creative vision, which is what I really kind of think about when I think about the sacral chakra. I know there's a lot of sexual energy there as well, but our creativity comes from that sexual energy, from that vulnerable space, and to be yourself and to be authentic in the world when it's scary. Ooh, I like sacred technology. That's beautiful. Yes. Yeah, to be yourself in the world is scary when the world is telling you you're not supposed to be certain things, right? So, like, even the post that you just did on your story, like that is something that you feel very strongly about. And it can be kind of scary when social media is always, yelling at everybody and like telling people how to feel and telling people what to think. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but that is kind of my thoughts on just the sacral space. And so I actually forgot the question. I don't
I
remember what
totally
it was.
agree. No, I think it's very vulnerable, like sharing like pleasure with someone, sharing your emotions with someone, sharing like what you created with someone is all like very vulnerable, and especially when you're not only just it's not like a consolidated group of like 5 people in your yoga class. Now you're like reaching like way more people. And there's like kind of like a block when it comes to technology. People just kind of say what they want, even if they wouldn't say that to your face. So there's so much vulnerability packed up in like not only like feeling your emotions, but then like sharing them or like sharing your own transformation. Like that's something that I personally have struggled with so much. I feel like, and I think sacral chakra kind of covers this too. It's like that guilt and that shame that we kind of hold in this area for like where we've been and what we've had to overcome, and like how are people going to like perceive us when we do share, and like just kind of feeling like we're just gonna like relive through all of those things. I think that's something that probably all 4 of us have worked through on our journey to healing.
That's beautiful because that is one of the things that I do think, as you know, as a yoga teacher too, like when we do hip openers, we cry and we have a lot of like emotional release that's also directly connected to the sacral chakra. And I do think we hold shame and guilt about things that we've done in the past. And so then when it comes to expressing yourself authentically, you're like, is that going to happen again? If I put myself out there, is the same pattern going to repeat itself? And then so you like keep it safe and then you get, increasingly in more pain or trapped emotions or whatever the symptom is of your blocked sacral chakra.
Yeah, like what are some things that you notice? Like I know you work with clients and like trying to like elicit like their own create authentic voice and their own creativity. Like what are some of the biggest blocks that you see that come up for them, and
They're
what like
afraid of what
helps to
people are
work
going
through
to think. They're afraid of what people are going to think. And so the thing that I like to work with is And it's hard. It takes some time. It takes a lot of exercises. I've got all kinds of different, energetic things that you can do, EFT tapping or movement or screaming or journal. There's all kinds of different things that you can do. But what it boils down to is that I think a lot of us are afraid to be seen for exactly who we are. But what I try to remind them of is your mission more important than what other people think? And so the process is to get them from no to yes, right? So, and that it looks very different for everybody, because really it's about sifting through childhood stuff and things people I work on this actively still to this day. Like my childhood is still driving my bus, even though I'm aware of it. It's ridiculous. I'm so over it, and it's still happening. And so it's a process for all of us. But I think that ultimately, if you can get people that are on a spiritual journey or an awakening journey or whatever you want to call it, just in touch with the fact that we came here to do something really, really important, and it is not what we're being told to do. And whatever that important thing that you're meant to be doing, yes, whatever that important thing you're meant to be doing is in your sacral chakra waiting to be revealed to you. So if you can kind of be vulnerable and be open and be authentic, that will show itself. And I like to say, like, slowly through that process, the matrix will start to break down and you'll start to see things for what they actually are.
I like that. I feel like you just dropped so much wisdom here on this.
I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, like I just feel like I have to process it for a moment, because the most powerful thing for me was like, is your mission or is your purpose more important than your fear? Because like I feel like once you like light that fire and you're like, oh my God, I can see so clearly like how I can help, what I'm gonna do, then there's like nothing really stopping you. But I think that there's a lot of like 2 steps forward and 10 steps back on that journey, because it's hard. Like it's so hard to put yourself out there. And I mean, even when you do, sometimes it's not really received, or you don't get you have like a goal and you don't reach the goal. So then all of a sudden you just don't do it anymore. Like I was thinking about this. I was listening to this podcast and they were saying that most people who start podcasts only don't get past their 3rd episode because no one's listening, because they just started doing their podcast, but it's like you're not getting that feedback. So it's really hard to like keep showing up and keep being vulnerable, when even if it really is like, so you really do have to have that like fire of purpose underneath, like guiding your way.
And you have to be willing to like not be heard for a while, or have people come at you and say like, oh, that's not right, or that's not how it's done, or whatever. And I think that strengthening your connection with whatever that purpose is will eventually make you feel so empowered to, sorry, I just saw the comment too. So empowered to like say, fuck that. Like, I hear you and whatever, but that's your opinion. That's not my reality. And I really have something I came here to do. That's something, I had this experience on Sunday. As you know, I've been working on like incorporating my singing into my teachings and stuff, because I used to do musical theater and I'm a trained vocalist. And there's a lot of vulnerability behind that. There's so much vulnerability in putting yourself out there. And I used to put myself out there in front of directors who wanted me to fail or were picking me apart. We would do auditions in front of all of our people, and they'd like, you'd pour your heart out and they'd stand there and tell you like, this was bad, you didn't do this right. And you're like, oh my God, and you go home and cry, and then you do it again, and it's awful. And I still have a lot of that in my body now. And so like, even though nobody in a yoga class is sitting there picking apart if I'm flat or if my note is wrong, they don't care. I sang at the end of my sound bath on Sunday, and I was shaking like crazy and I couldn't stop. And my voice was like wavering a little bit. And I spent the next 2 days crying about it because I was so embarrassed. And I was like, but that to me kind of ties into what you said about like that people quit. I'm going to do it again, even though it was terrifying and I didn't like, and I have nailed it before. So it's annoying to me that I've done well. And then for whatever reason, my body just responded in fear on Sunday. I don't know why. I have no idea, but it's those kinds of things that I know it's part of my mission. So I will do it again, even if I don't want to necessarily after that experience,
That is so funny that you say that, because I had the exact same experience. I was teaching a restorative class. I wanted to sing the Gayatri mantra at the end because it worked with my theme. So I'm here, and like I like chant mantra with my meditation groups all the time. So I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But some reason, because I was in this different space, all of a sudden, I'm shaking uncontrollably. I'm like sweating. My voice is like shaking so hard. And I just kept doing it. And they were in Shavasana for like 15 minutes. And I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to keep going.
Hell
And the
yeah.
more I sang, like the better it got. I finally chilled out. But I still haven't done it since because I was like, whoa, that was really emotional.
Please do it again.
Okay, well,
Please
no,
do it
you
again.
inspired me. I'm going to.
Are you going to get a harmonium?
Yeah, we actually have one. It's just in Colorado still, but I am going to teach myself how to play the harmonium.
Do it. Okay, good. Yeah, but that's funny. Oh, it's funny though that you're like, and I wasn't even that nervous, but my body was just like, oh, you're going to be nervous. It's just how this is going to go. And it was very silly, but Mike was there to support me and he was like, you sounded beautiful, but you did sound nervous. I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, that's the vulnerability of all of this. It's like to be well, and also like in entrepreneurship or any sort of business or anything, or actually in any development of yourself in general, to keep growing, you have to keep doing the things that are scary that you don't necessarily want to do, because otherwise you stay complacent and you don't grow. So it's like putting yourself continually into that scary space and teaching yourself that it's okay and it's actually safe and good for you to continue to challenge and kind of scare yourself into new places.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, I feel like those emotions, like even the bad ones, help us to expand in like different directions, one way or another. And it's like if we're very rooted in ourselves and like have that structural support of like the root chakra and like our nourishment and our survival needs met, then we kind of have a container for all those emotions. So we're not like just leaking them out, dumping them out everywhere. Instead, we like can stay contained and like use that emotion to kind of like expand in different ways without freaking out almost. um but I do feel like even those like very being very scared or we always talk about like in yoga like discomfort, like all of these things, like without them we can't expand. Like there's no way that we don't like push ourselves to our edge. Like in our yoga classes, we talk about like pushing a stretch to our edge. It's kind of the same way, like in our spiritual practice, in our emotional life too. Like we have to like slowly push towards all these different edges without like, popping and injuring ourselves in some way, whatever way that we're working with.
Yeah,
It's kind of like
absolutely.
a nice little balance.
It's always balance, and you're always kind of getting it in and out of balance. That's something that you guys, when you sent me the questions about like keeping it in balance and what alignment means, I was thinking, I don't know if you guys ever listened to Abraham Hicks, but they talk about how like aligning your frequency or your vibration or keeping yourself on that high flying disc or whatever you want to call it, which I might say would be kind of similar to being in alignment, is like a constant like tuning into the radio, or like if you're driving down the road, there's that like rumble strip on the side of the road where you veer off and you're like, oh crap, and then you go back to the center. I feel like it's always kind of like that. So it's a delicate balance, and I think it's important to pay attention to like where you are energetically, and if you're pushing yourself too far to the edge, are you going to actually damage your journey rather than, maybe stay within the lines a little bit and let yourself ebb and flow, and also let yourself be human, because we're here to be human, and so it's okay to not be spiritually aligned all the time, because we're not here to have that experience.
I totally agree. Like, I don't think that I feel like it's, well, maybe I just tell myself this because this is one of my favorite coping mechanisms, but I love to just like lay on the ground in the fetal position and cry. Like, it's just so soothing to me. And I'm not going to shame myself about it. Like, I'm just going to be clear. I find it perfectly okay to like sometimes like be in the fetal position on the ground and cry. But one
Yes.
thing that like for me, as I'm like, because I feel like all three of us, me and Christy and McKinsey, all of us can really, we're all going through this kind of like similar journey where we're like reconnecting with our roots. Like we've kind of been like, we've shifted from the place that we've been living for quite a long time. And now we're coming back and like spending time with family, and like all of these like old things are coming up, and it's like very emotional. And one of the biggest things for me, like during this time, is like making sure that I let myself have fun. Like when we have these like big emotions and these big breakthroughs, it's so easy to just like get bogged down by them and just like kind of like live in that frequency. But that's not to stay in balance, like we have to like seek the opposite, you know, which is like take yourself on a date, like nourish yourself through the senses, you know, like massage, like a really nice meal, whatever it is, like whatever fits your fancy, like whatever is your like most pleasurable experience, like make sure that you're creating time for that too along the healing journey, because it's just as important
Mhm.
to bring us back to that balance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's my special plug.
Good. I liked it.
What about you girls?
Well, definitely like today, that was me. I just allowed myself to lie in the fetal position and cry because technology was my worst enemy today. And I mean my worst enemy. And I think it's kind of, well, not ironic, all synchronicities, but working in the sacral chakra, I literally recorded this flow for you guys like over 8 times because my like technology was just like not working. I switched back and forth. And then at one point I was like, you know what? This isn't my purpose. Like, what am I doing? Blah, 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 blah. But then I stepped back and I was like, this is all a freaking challenge. I was like, I've worked so hard to get to where I am. I'm like, do I want it? Do I want to be in this position? And I was like, yes, I want it. So I just like had to like take a minute, just went outside, cried, and I was like, all right, let's fucking do this. And then finally, I like after like the 8th time of trying to record it, I finally got what I needed to get. And I was able to push through. And I was like, and after that, then I cried again because I was like, holy shit, like what a fucking day of emotions. Like sorry for my language, but like damn, like I've never like been through so many like talk about waves of emotions and just riding them out and not letting them get the best of you. That was definitely me today. Like I experienced probably every single emotion somebody could experience within like 6 hours. And oh, I felt bad because I took it out on my like, brother too, because he like walked in mid flow and I sent out a text prior to, and so it was just like rare. And then I saw the video and I started laughing at myself with how angry I got over something so small. And then I was like, okay, I really can do this. And then, so yeah, it's currently uploading. I'm very sorry about that too, that it did not get uploaded when I wanted to. But you know what? That's what the universe is teaching me. And this chakra is teaching me too, is just to really flow through those emotions and allowing yourself to be the observer of it too, and not get caught up in in those emotions, and then holding on to the stories that created that emotion too.
Yep.
Because I thought about I was like, I could so easily just take this with me and just say, fuck it, like screw this, like I'm not meant for this kind of thing. But then thank God I have Kristen. She's like my rock here, seriously, because I'm the one who's always spacey playing in the cosmos, and she's like, hey,
I'm like, hey, come back down here for a second. No, it's good because we need that balance. We really do. Like I can be so earthy, like I really can, whatever, all those things, sluggish, like stubborn, all those things that come along with being like really grounded sometimes. So it's all good. And I can't wait to practice the flow.
Divine timing too.
Mm.
Like I haven't had a chance to even do a flow today. So don't even worry about it. Yeah, like
Good.
it is funny work out, especially when you have that little bit of resistance.
yeah. Yeah.
But
I'll
they're all
never
just like reminders, you know. I feel like all of these emotions, like they really are like our spiritual guides. Like even when we're angry, like that's leaving us a message. Like when we're frustrated, that's giving us a message too. Like when we're sad, like there's some grief we have to process, and like all of it is kind of like our spiritual guide back to ourselves, you know. It like reminds us of our strength, brings us back to our center, like it grounds us back in the present, because you know, the other options of not working through the emotions are like numbing them or like disassociating from them, you know, and like it takes like real spiritual work to be like, F it, like I'm moving through this, but that's what real power is, you know, not running away from our emotions, because then we just run away from like our gateways to our healing. Like,
That's exactly, yes, that's exactly it. It's powerful.
What's so funny today too, like as I was like getting caught up in the emotions of the self-doubt, the worry, the anxiety, whatever, I like noticed the negative self-talk come in, but it felt so foreign and so weird. Like it was
whose voice is
like
that?
what I said, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna give up. Like, yeah, I feel like it now, but it was such a cool like realization to be like, these thoughts aren't even mine, but they're obviously still there with the work that I need to do. But I was like, it's just that easy. I can subscribe to that thought or unsubscribe. And I was like, well, we're just gonna get you out of my mind email box. And then I was like, it was hard, but I was like, it was cool though to feel that those thoughts weren't a part of who I was when that was like who I was before. So the
Rad.
keep doing it. Keep doing that.
I feel like
We get addicted to that piece of like how you feel after it's been really hard and you've wanted to give up, and then you feel the feeling of victory after that. It's so much sweeter than when things flow. And so it's almost like that's what keeps us throwing ourselves in the fire, especially as entrepreneurs, right? Yeah.
Completely. Absolutely.
definitely.
Yep.
I had such a good thought going and it just like,
Oh, I totally interrupted you. I'm sorry.
no, girl, that was a great thought. It was a good share.
And I love that you said, like, like we get over these tough times and then that's what taps us into our creativity. It's so true. Like, and yeah, even just with my business, I wouldn't get through these tough times if I didn't keep coming back for more abuse.
Absolutely. I know. I know. Me and my best friend, we run her company together, and we've had over the years so many times where we're like crying, like, okay, we're gonna give up. And we're like, no, we're not gonna give up. But we do. I have a panic attack. I call her because I created a course and the whole thing got deleted or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I doing this?
It's a sign.
Yeah, and it's not. But I think that is actually what's made me a better entrepreneur over the years.
Right.
And
Right.
what will separate you from the people that give up after 3 podcasts. God love them. That's just their journey and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do think it takes a certain amount of flow, but also a certain amount of grit to really get yourself to wherever it is that you want to go. And I know we're all doing that. So it's, yeah. And I think
I also think there's like a level of discernment, like it's like, is this like an emotion that I have to feel? Like, is this my emotion and my trauma that needs to be like expressed in a certain way? Or is this like, a past story that's like repeating itself to me? Like, it's like being able to separate from like what is actually ours and what's not, like McKinsey, what you said, like those stories that we tell, like we all tell those stories. So how do we like distinguish from our minds like hating on us versus like something that's actually like we need to sit through and process, And I think what you said, Jen, about like grit is really what it comes down to.
And not necessarily grit like in the 3D like kind of masculine paradigm way, but more in the sense that you are willing to continue down the path even when it's difficult. And it's that self-awareness, it sucks. I saw a meme the other day that was like, oh, you're so self-aware, and the person was like, thanks, it's ruining my life. And I'm like, yeah, kind of. I can kind of see, like, I had a moment today where a friend called me out on doing something that really I did not mean to do, and it really I'm sad about it. I'm really sad that I hurt her feelings and I did not mean to. And I had to kind of call myself out and be like, okay, well, being aware and being on this journey means that I'm going to own my stuff and take responsibility for how I hurt your feelings. And that doesn't feel good, but it's it's all of it. Like owning your stuff and seeing your stuff and sitting with your things without being numbed. Like I've been sober for 2.5 years, and that has been a journey of learning how to thank you. And that was cool. It was like a download. One day I woke up and it was like, quit drinking. And I was like, okay. And it was easy, but being with myself for the past couple of years, there have been times where it has not been easy because I was so used to checking out with alcohol. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like we all check out in like our own ways, whether it's like, like especially wrapped up in this chakra, like, is it like seeking attention from other people? Like we can all like gain pleasure from drinking or smoking or doing our drug of choice. Is our drug of choice like our sexuality, like I kind of forget where I was going with this, but you know, like we
Yeah.
can get addicted to so many different things, not even just substances. It could just be like watching TV or playing video games, or even sometimes I think people get addicted to like studying philosophy, you know, without actually embodying it within. It's just kind of like an escape as opposed to like actually really feeling and like allowing that wisdom to arise from within.
I like that with in terms of the sacral chakra, because I think that people, you can get addicted to anything. And I think people get addicted to the spiritual journey. And the sacral chakra is actually a really grounding chakra, being so close to the root and being so like grounded in emotions of the earth. It's a reminder that we chose to be here, and that's my opinion, but we chose to be here and have this experience, and you're not supposed to live in spiritual la la land all the time. Like your spiritual work literally is in being here. And so I think that that's like a really, that's hard for everybody. It's hard for all of us. We're doing it all together too. So
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
it's not
Thank
fun.
God.
You say thank God.
Thank Gaia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Christy actually is my reminder that haters are gonna hate like anyways, so just do it. She always has told me that,
Yes.
and I need
Well,
that.
that's when you know you're being seen on the broad level, right? Is because that's when the haters drop in. Like when I have a post that has 1 million views and people are like fighting with each other, I'm like, okay,
I
now
need
we
it.
Hell yeah.
can.
What do you call them? You have like a term for it.
Who,
People,
me?
yeah, people who like start shit by
I
like
don't know.
taking controversial opinions.
I don't know.
That's okay.
We just had a day at the spa. I don't know. I
Oh,
don't
she's blissed out.
know.
Yeah, you ladies look pretty blissed out. You're just like,
Yeah, like
Thanks. We deserved it.
I did like 8 hours soaking in a massage. We're like, whoa.
Yeah, it was like the Korean day spa. It was good.
ooh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I've been to one before, but that sounds great. Very like sacral chakra-esque, you know, like tuning into those senses, enjoying some pleasure.
Feminine.
Self-care.
Yeah, you girls are really embodying sacral work today.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
taking
you.
this challenge so seriously.
Mm.
I love it. Well, is there anything else that we want to say? We've got like 3 more minutes before we get cut off. I don't know if there's Jen, you have anything else that you'd like to share about your offerings, perhaps?
Yeah, like I don't know. I am still kind of, if I'm being vulnerable and honest with you guys right here and whoever watches, I'm still constantly figuring out my purpose and how it's going to express through me. So the current thing that I've naturally been doing has been like spiritual business coaching, because I work with Tana, with her. She has a psychic mentorship business that she does, and we've been working together, and it's just been, I try to pay attention to the cues of the universe, and those are the people that keep coming to me, even when I'm not putting it out there. So as of now, as I figure it all out, I am doing spiritual business coaching. I can help people do literally anything for business. I've been doing this for years, and I've really figured out like the business side of things. So website, social presence, all the things that you can think of in business, and spiritual coaching. Because I was doing readings, I was doing tarot readings for a long, and I still do them, but every time I do a reading on somebody, I just end up coaching them. I feel like I want to give them like guidance, and I feel like I want it to be like informative in a way that can help guide their decisions moving forward from that, rather than like Tana does future predictions, and I don't do stuff like that. So it's hard to say. I'm still living in my Aquarius like way, and that actually is really hard for business. I'm not going to lie, which is why I've learned so many different structures, because it's hard for me to stay. It's hard for me to be on Earth, if I'm being honest. The overwhelming feeling I've had lately has been I don't like it here.
Me
Like
too.
I don't like it here, but
That's collective. For
This
this
place
group.
sucks.
I feel like
None
I'm
of
in
us are
good
having a good
company.
time.
Like I don't, yeah, I just am not. And then all things are going crazy, and I'm like, I don't know. But if I'm gonna be here and make an impact in some way, what seems to be naturally happening is I have a loving ability to guide people through things that make them feel stupid otherwise. And so that is kind of what I'm here to do. And so I've been doing a lot of that. Yeah.
I love that. And you're hosting a retreat, right?
Oh yeah. Oh duh. I'm sorry. I'm hosting a retreat in Mount Shasta. We're doing a Reiki certification retreat in September. And then Tana's going to do a business authority retreat in Sedona in the beginning of September. And we're doing like professional photo shoots and video shoots and authority workshops and stuff. And so I'll be co-hosting with her at that as well.
That sounds
Nice.
amazing.
Yeah. So I got all kinds of stuff going on. If you want to connect with me, I'm definitely going to find you, Christy, and follow you guys. If you want to like, yeah, let's all be, in this space together because Earth is
Soul
fun.
tribe.
Huh?
Soul tribe.
Yeah, Soul Tribe. And honestly, that's one of the other things. Final thought, if anybody else watches this later, stick with people that support your mission and literally do not be afraid to get rid of anybody who doesn't understand what you're doing. Like I have gotten rid of so many people over the past few years, and it's not out of hate or anger. It's just that you don't align with my vision and you're bumming me out. So just get out of here. And it's okay.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Jen. Oh, this
Yeah,
is
thank
Guys,
amazing.
it's so nice chatting with you. Thank you.
Yes. I'm gonna drop you in our group chat so